Hello and welcome to excelexperts.com. Today's training session is on sell or rent out calculator. So suppose you bought a property and you bought it for an investment and you're worried about the market right now, and should you keep hold of it and ride the storm out, or should you sell it now? So this calculator attempts to answer that question. If you don't already have it, you can download it from excelexperts.com. Here, and on the left are the property calculators. Click on there. It's an Excel file. It contains no macros, so it's perfectly safe to load. Okay, now here is the calculator. Open the one with 0 values so that you can build up the model yourself, and let's see what happens. So if I enter, let's say 650 as rent, I paid $500,000 for it. I spent 30,000 on the house doing it up. That's using the capital gains tax calculation. The house price now is, let's say I've made some money. It's worth $750. My mortgage was $450, so I put down 50,000. 50,000 was my initial equity. My equity now is 300,000. Looks like I did really well. Take the profits and run, or try and aim for some more profits. Let's say I entered a mortgage and there's a redemption penalty for early exit. So if I sell this now, it's my investment property, I might have a redemption penalty. Let's say that's 3%, as they often are. At horizon, so when it comes to remortgaging time, let's say that is 0. To tear up a mortgage, that might cost me 1,000. If I rent it out, notice the mortgage tear-up fee occurs at the end. If I rent it out, I have a managing agent fee, so that comes off my annual rent, and it'll come off the net rent received. So let's enter, I don't know, 12%. Occupancy, well, when you rent out a place, it's very rare that you get 100% occupancy. When people move, there's always a period of looking for a new tenant, or if you need to do redecoration. So let's enter 90%. Annual service charge, I'm going to assume this is whopping great 12,000. Okay, so every year we pay 12,000 in service charge, and we're in a dilapidated old block that needs doing up, so I'm going to enter 5% increase in that per year. Okay, tax rate on profit. So if we make a net profit, so that's rent received minus all the fees, subtract the mortgage payments, subtract all the other costs, what tax do we pay on that? Let's assume 10%. You may have other tax dependent on your personal circumstances. Capital gains tax, this is the effective capital gains tax. So if you bought many years ago, didn't live in it, and sell it now, you may have capital gains tax bill to pay, which could be significant. So that's also important. Let's assume, I don't know, 10%. Cost of selling, well, if you buy something and you have to sell it, it costs. Let's enter 3%. Annual maintenance, well, if you're renting it out, you still need to pay for broken washing machines and that kind of stuff, so I'll put 1%. Post-tax investment rate. So if you were to sell now, put your money in the bank, or pay off another mortgage, what is that rate? So that's very personal to you. I'm going to enter 2%. Mortgage interest rate, let's assume you locked in fixed when fixed was higher. It's right now March 09, but maybe you locked in at 5.5%. Time horizon, so you've got a long time horizon, it's 20 years, and let's have a look. So what have we got? We've got a graph. This is our graph of wealth comparison. As you can see, if you sell now, your wealth steadily increases by your investment rate. Obviously, if you put your money in the stock market, it might not only go up, but if you can get it in bonds or some very securely backed return, then it could go up. And if you rent it out, well, you're getting poorer every year. Let's have a look at what's actually happening here. Well, In this case, it turns out that the rent that we're receiving is very, very low compared to the mortgage payments and the other costs. So every year we're getting a lot poorer. And this is the change in our cash position. So a lot of people bought property with the view that if it goes up, they'll be able to remortgage and take that money out and fund their cash position. But if that's not the case, if they're flat, in this case, this is a terrible investment. I'm just getting poorer every year. It's just a punt on what's going to happen on increasing prices. But I haven't entered anything to do with rent here or any house price assumptions. Let's enter ridiculous value. Let's enter 10% a year. So if I do that, in this case, I'll be 2.3 million better off. That's a future value calculation. So that is actually this number here. A lot of people did actually assume 10% house price change every year, and that's probably why they get themselves into this kind of trouble. Big exponential increase in wealth if you rent it out, and there's your difference. Okay, let's put some realistic assumptions in. I'm going to assume that the market is cyclical, and I think it's going down right now. So in this case I've said down 15, down 5, flat, mini boom, and then flat, and then another little crash over here. Excuse me. But that's not the whole story. If I'm renting out, I might get an increase in rent. So let's have a look at that. So in this case, under these assumptions, in 20 years' time, I'm going to be 849,000 better off if I sell it now. Well, that's quite a lot. So let's say that the service charge is lower. Okay, well, I'm still better off if I sell now. Let's say if I can rent it out for more. Okay, well, I'm still better if I sell it now. Now, the question I want to ask is, what is the rent at which I need to receive in order that I am neither better nor worse off selling or renting it out? Well, I can use Excel nifty feature here. Alt-TG brings up this box, goal seek. So I'm going to set this value, the difference, to value 0 by changing the weekly rent. Okay, so if I can get 1,100 almost weekly rent, then I'm neither better off nor worse off based on these assumptions in this scenario. Thank you for listening, and that was an introduction to the sell or rent out calculator from excelexperts.com.